While we were in calls looking for some kind of squeeze, we reached an area where the decision making was the first opportunity for a decision to be made. And that decision I chose was to say, I will opportunity cost, I will risk missing out on a squeeze because it seems like to me a 30-minute or 2-hour pullback is very likely. And it looks like we happen to be right. So, what is going to go on from here? What are we going to see to the upside? And that's where we're going to have to get into some technical analysis for a lot of things across the board. Look at the SPY with a serious note, give you guys some daily expected moves, and go into tomorrow because weirdly enough, tomorrow I think some big move is coming and it could be up or could be down. So reacting to the signals would be a very good thing to do. Let's get into it. First thing to note about tomorrow is going to be the GDP growth rate coming out in the morning. Previous 3.1 supposed to come down a little bit. If we come below that number, are people going to think of that as recessionary, as a slowing down of the economy? If we come in higher than that number, are we going to celebrate the fact that it's actually a higher number than 2.3, but still lower than 3.1, which is still kind of leaning towards that economic slowing of growth? Is that going to be on people's minds? And that's why reacting to the price action is most likely the better thing. But that will come out an hour before the open, so we could see a gap tomorrow. Now let's look over for some key levels, and you'll notice if we're looking at tomorrow's expiration, we do see the key levels of 584 to the upside and 550 to the downside. So it looks like, if we're not going to be able to, remain below 574, we could see a big move in one direction. And so we want to pay attention to those two levels. We can exit out of this and see that the SPY is up right here. And now we can look at our daily expected moves and see 574.25, very, very important there. And 562.93, very important. We know that 580 overall is the level that I want to get above to see some kind of squeeze really begin. And maybe it does take even more time there. We'll keep watching it, but maybe it's a grind higher type of squeeze. But at this moment, what is this? Is this something to be seriously worried about? Well, as of right now, it's still considered, I would even say, a 30-minute pullback that got more aggressive. We did lose the 5, so that's going to be a big deal. So the downside move of 562.93 might be something to watch out for. Why? It sits right at our gap, right? Some big bets coming in up here, coming in down here. But at the end of the day, if they sit you down in here for a while, all that can be zero. So something I would really watch for here, there's a few things. Right? Still the potential for a trap outside of the weekly expected move. And that would be the 30-minute is able to curl up. That would mean positivity is coming and we can potentially test this high and go make a new one, unless we're going to run into that daily expected move and see resistance. So we'll keep an eye on that. But this is very good for this to do, right? Create that floor, create this, remain more volatile, break out, retest into the area we really just broke out from. If we want to come back and fill this gap, hey, that's okay. At the end of the day, if the 30 minutes able to curl up and we're able to get to a higher price point and take back 580, if we really zoom out on this, guys, we look at the daily context, we look at the signal that was down here at the lows and understand this can get more complex. But overall, in the next 2 months, we do see the SPY potentially going to all-time highs, if not at least testing something like 600. As we switch over to the Qs on the daily scale, the reason I'm paying serious attention is because how many people are looking to go short after the rejection of the 200 versus how many people would think, oh, what if this thing just curls up and takes back the 200, right? The mentality here is going to be a big issue. We have updated daily expected moves for the Qs here for you. So this would pretty simply be, besides a trap up here to the upside, we'd be looking for that daily expected move. We see 490.79 to the upside and 477.97 to the downside. Is there something very important on the downside move? So if we see a downside move in the morning, what happens to this thing? Do we actually see support come in at that downside monthly expected move, as we are just a couple of days away from the end of the month on Monday for the Qs. So this will be a very interesting time to really pay attention to things. But at the end of it all, you pay attention to your 68% zone. We're trying to make a move back within it. The daily is crossed up. We have a decent sized base here. It can become more complex on the daily. We've already talked about that. We'll discuss that more on Saturday, so make sure you're subscribed. But at this moment, it just looks like, hey, can we start a squeeze by that 30-minute turning up and then see that break through a daily expected move and just keep going? Or are we going to set up some kind of trap in one direction tomorrow? And that's what we'll have to discuss. So we are going to be live tomorrow morning on YouTube, and we'll be live for the close on Rumble if you guys want to join us over there for the Power Hour stream. One thing I did think was interesting was TLT giving a potential for reversal here. I don't think this is the best reversal signal in the world, but this does suggest we could see some maybe slowing down in those rates, right? Those rates might actually come back down, and we'll take a further look at that tomorrow. Just a little blip there for TLT for you guys. Apple is going to be interesting because everyone's saying, oh my gosh, is this a top for Apple? Are we going to ultimately go way down? Well, if we really look at this channel, like if you keep it tight, you're going, okay, we're doing all the things we need to really do. And I know I'm kind of pinching that together, but overall, this is such positive price action. And you've seen now the first 30-minute pullback that if this is going to continue, this is the perfect area to catch the bounce and then see something crazy. This could be a crazy moment for Apple. Who knows, right? This is where we look like we're on the verge of a squeeze, but we also look like there could be another dip down to lower levels. So how we would see that dip down to lower levels, the 2-hour crosses, and then we see that dip way down, potentially down to 216 to 215, and then we see some support come in, and this would be a massive, almost cup and handle for the time being for Apple. Very, very interesting, but Apple's doing the work, and that's great. It's just a little bit too powerful, it seems. So that 30-minute pullback is very good to see. As we switch over just to Tesla real quick, because a lot of people being like, oh, is it too late to get... Tesla's doing something very cool here with the weekly expected moves that you don't get to see terribly often, but Tesla seems to be the culprit of it most of the time. I think the times that we have seen this happen, it's mostly been, with Tesla, weirdly enough. Tesla is seeing something great here. It's showing a powerful 2-hour move, and that 2-hour could pull back to fill a gap. We still want to be aware if this crosses and understand that's most likely a pullback. If it's going to go down to lower levels, watch if that goes negative, watch if dailies cross down. But the 30-minute here is very, very nice because you even get the divergence to tell you when that 30 minutes going to fail a little bit. So you see the rip up, right? We've already talked about how, you can go look, and I tweeted on this date right here. I said, everyone hates on Tesla, and Tesla's going to be up 50% in the next 2 months. We're already about 25% there. So very, very cool. Do your own research. Stop reading into what everyone else thinks and just, try to learn for yourself because you'll be way better off that way. It's your money. You're accountable for it. You care about it the most. So care about it by learning. Here we go. If the 30 minutes able to turn up into positive territory, this is where squeezes can happen. Right now, Tesla is attempting to use a topside weekly expected move as support. If it can successfully do that and then curl up, this is where you truly can see crazy things happen. And Tesla is already seeing something pretty crazy, able to take back, but you see how people would be eager to add shorts at the 200. So I'm saying if people get caught off guard here, it can be a moment where you do squeeze to the upside, even though we know that this could become even more complex throughout the next few days. But at the end of it, if we zoom out to that daily chart, right, and we really look at it, we go, okay, we really thought that this thing would squeeze up to potentially even 328.50. Are we there yet? No. Are we at the area where we want to build good structure? Yes. Okay, so nothing here really looks bad. If it starts to get bad, well, I should already have my plan for if something goes wrong. Amazon, very nice. And everyone like, yeah, you sold things at the perfect point. That does not happen every time, guys. That happens rarely. Rarely do you sell at the perfect highs, and you're completely right. It's just that is the risk that I decided to assume. It easily could have been the squeeze moment for Amazon here. But the probabilities to me leaned more towards pullback, and now we're getting a pullback. But you notice at the end of the day, crossing over on the 2-hour on a bad confirmation, so not too worried about that at the moment. But I'm aware how we could dip back into the zone, fill a gap, and then see that thing turn back up. That would be fantastic for Amazon. As of right now, though, what does the 30-minute look like for Amazon? It looks really, really nice. It looks like, hey, we're getting a big, strong move, a nice move out of our zone. We're trying to come back down into that area, maybe use the 5 and then curl back up into positive territory. I will be watching out for little traps like this, but as we're going into the end of the month, that trap would mean we're going to end up seeing a downward move, and that could end outside of those monthly expected moves. So it would say a reversal signal here most likely won't even show up. So if we're going to get upside and people are really going to start reading into GDP, this actually could be the moment where the squeeze actually begins. I told everyone, I was like, it's too early on in the week to be Tuesday and trying to get out of those ranges. But if we pull back here and we see things confirm up, you can experience a squeeze for a couple of days here for Thursday and Friday, getting outside of those moves and then moving those monthly expected moves for April in the upward direction. That would be a very good thing, and it really would lean towards squeeze at that point. So make sure to join us in the morning so we could see what's happening with this, because these easily could be continuing to pull back and not seeing that moment just yet. Nvidia, this is a bad close for Nvidia, and that's why we're still open to more downside, because the 2-hour signal that we talked about last night in last night's video. Hopefully you're watching these videos because you do have forms of divergence here on the MACD and RSI that told us, hey, if you start to confirm below 115, this is going to be a problem. And so right now it is a problem, and you need this thing to whip back up, really fake people out, because this 30-minute chart is deep into negative territory now. You notice around these areas on the MACD, when we get there, we normally have to make some kind of divergence at the low. That was the trigger for, hey, this can see an upside move. So we don't have that over here, so there's always the opportunity for that to happen. We'll see, but if we're going to see this V-shape get back above 115, which I think it needs to do very quickly, or else it's going to end up down towards 108, then I want to see this 2-hour get a nice strong confirmation here and tell me, hey, this thing isn't some kind of flop, right? This actually is some kind of move to go to the upside. And that's what I want to see. 2-hour curled up into positive territory as of right now, pointing down, which means Nvidia and a lot of these other things, right? These curl ups have not happened yet. So a lot of things are suggesting more downside going into tomorrow, but that data is something to be very aware of. That is the last one I'll show off, because you're starting to see a theme here. You're starting to see how these are going to pull back on the 30-minute. It's going to happen, and these are the moments where it's very probable to happen, and then tell people, yes, crash is coming, crash is coming. We might even dip down further to fill a gap. Crash is coming, crash is coming. But at the end of the day, my analysis as far as April goes is I think that we're potentially going to see higher prices than right here in April. And so therefore, I don't really care if it turns down to here and then curls up. I don't care if it goes down to here and then turns up. I can manage risk and get back in if my timing's off. I can not manage risk and scale in again if my timing's off. But the big point here is I think this will end up in the upward direction, and all this in-between stuff is kind of nonsense that we pay attention to day by day. As of right now, that nonsense is overall saying, hey, I could seriously just be a pullback to test that 5. If we see it get worse, then we know points to pay attention to for these stocks. I know a lot of people out there are expecting some kind of mega squeeze, and you might be getting it for GME, but you're not for AMC. This right now is failing for the moment. If the daily curls down, this signal is invalidated. This can then test the low and go make a new one. I wanted to point that out. You are not even close to testing that 342. I would be paying attention to GME because their insiders can start to buy tomorrow. We're seeing a big drop off in the post market, but this is a great close for GME. Even though it's 28.36, it's above 28.35, which is exactly what I wanted. Now, there is an opportunity for this to dip down, and this is what I think is funny, is if you want to see a squeeze, this is very good to happen. We need to see that continue. This is the moment where, like, a tweet would actually send this thing going because it already has big momentum behind it. Okay, this would be awesome. Now, the other thing that I thought was interesting is that 420 that all you guys like to laugh about. Well, if we're going to make good structure, you see how around... if I just draw this into kind of a way that this would see some kind of downturn for a few days, for a few weeks, we could get down to filling this type of gap, and then you would turn right back up, and you would make almost an even head and shoulders here, inverse head and shoulders. And guess what? The date where that would confirm potentially would be 420, so I think that is very, very funny. If that were to take place, we will keep an eye on it. But the big thing here is this is exactly what GME needs to do in order to potentially see a squeeze. We are heading into Thursday, Friday, so I highly assume fighting the stock and maybe seeing a crazier move on Monday would make more sense for this guy. But it looks fantastic. The daily's going positive. Unless that daily crosses down, I'm not going to be bearish on GME. Volatility, the daily is what we're watching here, right? If we're getting some kind of major volatility coming in right now, as we see that close the day up almost 7%, which weirdly enough, VIX 9-day was up 6.88% yesterday, I believe, which is very interesting. The way you'll be more scared of this is if the daily curls up, right? If a daily curls up on volatility, I'm not sitting there in my calls, right? I'm managing risk. But for the time being, does the 2-hour really suggest that's a thing? Because we were overall suggesting, hey, watch for 1950, watch for the 5-day. And look at that. We go to the 5-day. The 2-hour is not positive in positive territory. It's turned up, suggesting that this is some kind of bounce for the time being. Unless that starts to go ballistic, we would react. If that starts to curl down again, I think it's pretty set that we're heading to 1504. If not, at that point, seeing a big move and going down to 1212. Down by 1212 is where we will watch for reversal signals. This is what we've kind of been waiting for a while. So do I think this is some kind of major moment that's going to crash the stock market? The answer is no. Even if we sweep the lows from just a few weeks ago, I'm still going to be like, yeah, I'm looking for structure. I don't think that this is anything crazy, but it might seem crazy to you, but that's how I'm looking at it from this point forward. So the key thing is I'm aware of the risks that are saying we could turn down. We are seeing a 2-hour turn down. That is not what you want to see. But we're also seeing a 30-minute, which is in a spot that would be fantastic to get a bounce from, take back 570, see a big move into the end of the week, and start that squeeze into next week. I think that would be a very, very interesting way for us to start some kind of squeeze here. But as things are pointing down, we have to be aware of the risks. And so for me, my management of the trade will come in if this 4-hour is able to confirm down. If the 4-hour is able to confirm down, it might be at lower levels. It might be a bad loss, but by that time, we might head down to lower levels and then curl back up. And then this will be a great way to tell if we're potentially going to get that squeeze. We might even see it show up on the daily chart. So even if this gets really bad, bad enough to take out these lows, if it remains strong, I can manage risk for a moment and then be back in when that signal confirms and then say, okay, I'm holding this thing for a few weeks here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you guys to all the people who showed up to the live video. We had over 100 people over for the closing stream on Rumble. If you want to join us for our Power Hour stream, click the link in the description that says Rumble and follow that account, and make sure to go to your account settings and turn on notifications so you know that we are live. But pretty set that if you go over to that channel around an hour before close every single day, we will be live over on Rumble. But just remember to keep in mind that we are streaming in the mornings for the open on YouTube. So this is where I'm going to cut this thing off. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing. I really appreciate you guys being a part of this community, and I hope that this is in some way helpful. Let's continue to trade like water and manage our risk, and it seems like we will be just fine. So thank you guys. Have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow on YouTube live. Peace.